Hey, everybody out there. It's the Coach and Kreuz podcast live stream number 7. It's July 4th weekend. Got a good show coming up for you. We're going to talk this week about the 4th of July, which was last night. We're going to talk about the Giants per usual and what and since I've been watching them a little bit more recently, kind of disgusted with how they're playing. A little bit of Warriors free agency. It's that time of year for the off-season stuff happening, and we're gonna talk a little bit about tattoos, good, bad, expensive, all that stuff. Kreuz, how's it going this weekend for you? What do you got the rest of the weekend? We'll get to last night. What do you got coming up today, tomorrow, long weekend? Well, you're
Yeah, we
off what, Monday and Tuesday as well, right?
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I got one more night of work. We have a customer appreciation barbecue. We don't do it on the 4th just because we would get less people to show up. So we have like a big barbecue they're doing late this afternoon and early this evening. So should be a pretty good night. We do, unfortunately, when I'm at work and it's a night game on a Saturday, I will have to watch the Giants tonight at 7 p.m. Only good news for us is we got Logan Webb on the bump, so it's always good to see him. And then tomorrow, I'm not sure if you've been following, the USA plays Mexico in the CONCACAF, if I say that right, in the final. I have a bunch of my girlfriend's is Mexican, and a lot of my buddies I play golf with are Mexican, so we're going over their house having a barbecue to watch the USA game. I think I'll probably be the only one that's rooting for the USA, and I'm looking forward to that. So
Is
one
that
more night of work, and then we got.
is that at Levi? I forget where it
No,
is.
it's in Houston, which I think is kind of
Okay.
interesting. They did the quarterfinal. They were showing in true South Bay antics of the Mexico game that was played at Levi the other day, and I just saw a bunch of brawls. There's people brawling at a soccer game because they can't just watch the sport. Just like when you see when the Niner season's going on and you have all these guys fighting. That's why I've never taken my son. I'm not a huge. We've talked about this before. I'm not a huge live football fan because I don't feel like I can see it as well. I'd rather be on my couch texting you back and forth what's going on. But I've never taken Logan to a Niner game, and I would like to, except for I just don't want him at his young age of 7 to see any of that kind of stuff. And I feel like when we used to go to Candlestick back in the day, I mean, there might have been a fight here and there. I don't even remember, but we just were able to go watch the football game, enjoy the pre-game festivities, and have a barbecue and watch the game, and then head home. Now I just feel like it's gotten so bad with these youngsters that go to these games, and I don't even, the baseball games for me seem a lot more safe than going to a football game. And so I've yet to take him to one. I would like to, but I might wait him another year or two before he gets to about like 8 or 9 before I take him.
I grew up in Candlestick. My dad had bought season tickets for the Niners in 1970, so 2 years before I was born. So when you talk about being a Niner fan, I literally was born a Niner fan. So I can't remember exactly when I went, but I know I was super young going all the time, and I do remember the fights.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they used to sell beer, not only beer, the bleacher guys, the concession, the dudes, walking around, but they also had
Mm-hmm.
bottles,
Oh
bottles
wow!
of beer.
I have a question for
So,
you. Actually,
but they actually
one of my
poured the
buddies
bottle into the cup,
inside the
but they
cup,
had the bottle. Yeah,
right?
but they
Yeah,
popped them. So there's bottle caps all over the
yeah.
ground everywhere.
I have to fact
Well,
check this, but one of my friends was at my work yesterday. Had season tickets from like the early '80s until like the mid '90s, and he said, and I don't know if I believe this, but it could be true because I mean, he had season tickets. I wasn't even a lot of it wasn't. I was barely born, but he said back in the day, I don't know if it was the whole entire stadium, but like every seat was the same price. Like it was $50, and you could like, I don't know if it was like a first come first serve thing. It doesn't sound real to me
he,
because of obviously there's better seats than others. Maybe there's like certain sections you could like go to this section and pick from any one of those seats, and that would be $50. I don't know exactly. Like I said, I never had season tickets there, so
I
I
don't.
was wondering.
I think it was the same as far as like the better sections were more, but they were the same
Right.
price. Do you know what I mean? So it
Right.
wasn't like
Right. Right.
now I think they break it down a lot of times, at least when you see like if you're buying like on StubHub or something, even if you're a few rows closer to the stage or whatever you're doing, it seems like it's more expensive. But I
Yeah.
think the price, the event price, the real price, not like the resale price, I think
Hmm.
is usually similar by section. Obviously, it's more for the better seats.
Right.
And I think it was back
Right.
then. They obviously were cheaper. I have ticket stubs because my brother was lucky enough to go to the catch game with my dad. You know, the Dwight Clark, Joe Montana, that game, and that was a
Hmm.
championship game, right, in 1982,
Right.
right, for the 81 season. The ticket was like $20.
Wow. Now that's a and fast forward, and we just got back from San Diego. We talked about last week, and I buy 6 tickets. They were moderately good seats. They're right behind the right field fence, and they were probably like 15 rows up. And I had to get 6 tickets together. And this is a Tuesday game in San Diego, and I paid $64 a seat for 6 consecutive seats in a regular season. So obviously, inflation at its finest.
Yeah.
Not to mention beer prices are like they're smart enough now that and Petco does a really good job. They sell the tall cans, like the 24-ounce cans, so that way you're not having to get up like all the time. And they have guys walking around selling them. But then there are concessions along the outfield, behind the outfield fence, and along like each side. There was plenty of places to eat and drink, and they sell the 24-ounce cans. But I think they were like $18 for a 24-ounce can. So you buy like one for you and your couple of your buddies, and you're $60 in the hole for a 24-ounce can of beer. So
Yeah, I know it's
it's gotten
ridiculous.
quite pricey. And yeah,
It's everything. It's everywhere. But I remember as a teenager, talking Giants, the opening day, the bleachers I think were like $5 tickets, and we would stay. We literally, there were a couple years in a row I stayed overnight, camped out in the Candlestick parking lot because you had to buy them at the park, and you get in line. And I'm talking
yeah.
like
First
I
come,
was like
first come,
I was
first
like
serve. Yeah.
14, 15 years old, kid, and
Hmm.
uh, probably doing some things I should have been doing in the middle of the night there.
Right.
But
Right.
we get tickets and we go opening day, like we skip school, all that crazy business,
Yeah. Fun,
and sit
fun,
in the
fun,
bleachers.
fun, fun fact about me being obviously a big baseball guy. I have never, this is crazy, and I've been to a million big league baseball games. I've never been to a Giants opening day in my life. Maybe we should bucket list that, and I'll purchase the tickets on StubHub, so we won't have to wait in line and wait overnight anywhere. But maybe next year, if we get like the home opener or maybe the opening game of the season, if we're both around, maybe we can cruise out to Oracle Park and check out my first. If we can bring Logan and check out my first Giants home opener or opener period. I swear it's really crazy because I've been to so many games at so many. I think I've been to like 19 stadiums. I've never been to a Giants home opener, and I've been a Giants fan since I was born. So
Well, it's funny for how many Niners games I've been to. I've never been to not that this happens that much, but a playoff baseball game. Um, like you
oh
said, you're
wow.
not a big live event guy. I could do it. It's
Mm-mm.
just like you're talking about being so expensive, and part of the reason. So I gained the tickets from my dad. I basically, I don't know, I didn't buy them off him. I don't know if they changed the name or his name was still on them, but I basically owned them till like 2007. So the mid 2000s, the Niners were terrible, terrible, awful football, disgusting. And living 3 hours away, coaching football, it was hard to get to games on Sundays. So I was selling them at like literally at face value. And this is like right around when StubHub and these others were just starting, but it was kind of like a fad. Like no one really knew how to use that stuff. So getting rid of tickets was brutal. And when they sucked really bad, the Niners, um, I couldn't give them away, so I was losing money. So there was a
Mm-hmm.
couple seasons in a row, like I'm literally losing money because I'd pay for the season tickets and couldn't use them. And I remember seeing in my drawer, my other room that used to be my office, just sitting there in the folder from the that you get for the season ticket pack, and I'm just like, that is a huge waste of money. And so I dumped them,
Yeah.
partly because at that time, crazy enough, high definition TVs were coming out. And so when you're sitting there looking at the TV screen and you're going, I could watch them suck right here, and it looks way better than the analog TVs that used to be out there. And I'm like, forget this. And obviously took the chance, and it kind of sucks because my kids didn't get to experience what I got to experience going to football games all the time. But I'm like, kind of biting the bullet, and also knowing that I'll take them every once in a while as they went through. It's you didn't need to go every week like I was doing. Plus I was a lot closer, obviously, travel wise. But yeah, so I dumped them. I think it was like 35, 37 years of Niners season tickets. And even when they were um opening Levi, it was kind of like, I don't know about this. I don't know if I would have wanted to move over, And then when I went to Levi the first time, I'm like, this is a good move. Candlestick was a dump, but it was like your dump. I literally like grew up in that
Mm-hmm.
place. Then you go to Levi and it's brand new, all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't like that. And then I just don't think it's a great stadium. And I think a
No,
lot of
I,
people
I,
agree
I
with
sort
me.
of, yeah, I sort of feel like they sort of, I don't know if it's true, but like, I feel like they sort of rushed that stadium open. Obviously you got the way that the sun, we sat, and the first time I ever went to Levi, we sat on the sun side. It was like a 70-degree day, but when
But it
you're
felt,
sitting directly, but yeah, and so we were lucky enough to we had club passes, so we watched the first quarter from our seats, and we were all sweating our asses off. And then we had these club to leave. I think it's called Levi Club, and so it's basically like that club level that walks right across the middle of the
yeah.
stadium, where they had you could sit at a bar and watch the game, or you could just kind of watch out the window. And the rest of the game, we never went back to our seat. And like, why? I don't want to go back up there. This is way more nice here. Let's stay here. And so now, like when you buy tickets to Levi, you got to be really cognizant of buying seats on the correct side, because you get like a 80-degree day in the fall or 85-degree day in the fall, and then you got a 1 o'clock start. Those tickets are,
Yeah.
your seat is like on fire. You know what I mean? So I just feel like, yeah, I'm much more of like a traditionalist when it comes to sports. I love the stick because that's what we had. It was what we grew up with, and it was kind of smelly and dumpy, but it was like our dumpy, smelly place. You know what I mean? And so
It's
it's
like a
like
home field
now,
advantage.
and I yeah, and now like when you go to Levi, with all the parking issues and getting in and out, and if you want to take an Uber, you got to walk like legitimately 3/4 of a mile to get an Uber out of there. It just becomes a real long day. And now that for Giants game for us, now that I moved to Hollister 5 years ago, we took Logan 2 years ago to his first Giants game, and we went on a Monday or a Tuesday. The tickets were relatively inexpensive, but we left here at like 2 p.m. for a 7 o'clock game, and we got home at midnight, right, on a school night. And then
Right.
you look and then you spent $600 because you win 8 before the game, and then Logan's first game, so he wants cotton candy, he wants hot chocolate, he wants all the things which I want to give him, and tour around the stadium because it's such a great stadium to watch baseball. And it's like, I find ourselves not going to as many games because of that, because of the, like you said, like traveling 3 hours each way to go to a game. Unless you're going to spend the night, even if you spend one night, it's still a lot of travel to watch one sporting event. For
Well,
us now, when we go, if we go to a Giants game, we try to tend to go to a day game and then stay the night in the city, and then the next morning we'll drive back. That's kind of like the only
we
way
kind
for
of
us to do it.
Amy and I have done like a couple Warriors games recently. Um, maybe once a season, but it's because of all that. So the one time we drove to Oakland, and you take like the ferry over, and it drops you off like right by the Chase Center there. You walk, it's like a
Mm-hmm.
quarter mile. that was pretty awesome because you park and then you're not. I took like a quick little nap as I was, you're going over there, and then you do the same. I think, yeah, that particular night we went back on the ferry, but we've also stayed down the street in the city. But again, you're doing that because one, where I live, you're driving down there, so gas is killing you.
Mm-hmm.
Your hotel is not cheap. Your tickets aren't cheap, right? And then your gas back home, if you're buying anything, food or merch, and you're just, I mean, it's kind of like Disneyland. Disneyland, the tickets used to be like $60 a piece or something. And it was kind
Mm-hmm.
of like they were trying to do what Costco does and keep slices of pizza or hot dogs at like $1.50 or whatever. And then, of course, that ends up not being the same. So like you can't. I was looking at Warriors playoff tickets now just to see. I think we talked about on the pod. It was like literally the top row of their first round playoff. It was like $450, like resale. And I'm
Yeah.
like, nope. Sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not paying your salary, Steph Curry. I'll buy a t-shirt
Speaking,
or something, but I'm not going to
yes.
stinking anyway.
Speaking of that, that brings me to this wonderful story that I need you to share with our listeners about how you brought the boys down to see a Sharks game and came and saw me at work. You guys got a bite to eat, and then you went to the Sharks game. It had been a midweek game, like a Tuesday or Wednesday. It might have been in the summer. I don't know if you had work the next day, but this is a great
No.
story. I think you have to. And as you're bringing these stories about traveling back and forth to games, this is the one that really comes to my mind. It just kind of came to me all of a sudden. Please share.
Well, we
They
park at
want to
your
know. They want to
you
know.
park at your work, which I don't know how far the walk is.
Like a
Turns out it's
12-minute
not
walk.
close. Yeah, well, we don't know exactly how to get there, as far as the walking part. So we're walking through people's apartments and we're talking, getting there. You have to walk down like the light rail, whatever, and hang a right on whatever street, I forget. And then I remember they were playing Edmonton, and it was a weeknight, and the Sharks got their ass handed to them. And I took a couple videos of Connor McDavid like slicing through. He didn't score on this one rush to the goal, but it was like basketball crossover at making guys fall down and look stupid. And I think the final was like 7-0. I'm not kidding. It was disgusting hockey, but fun, right? So then we have to walk back to your establishment. And again, not exactly sure how to get there. Walking back like the exact best way but we're cutting through. We went through this apartment complex and think we can hit out this gate, and it's locked and you can't. I mean, you have to jump the fence. We had to go around all this stuff, right? So that maybe is the precursor to the Sharks losing and we can't find our way. I'm driving my wife's car and jump in. It's a good couple hours drive home, and I've got a water bottle that's unopened, and it's in the cup holder, but the cup holder's got something in it, so it's not down very far in the. Again, it's unopened,
Not
unsealed.
sitting. It's like it's not sitting flush.
It's just not
Not
sitting.
sitting
It's kind of
flush. Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm making. I don't
Yeah.
know that
Wobbling.
okay. What was the street? Do you know what I'm talking about? What street? It's like, I don't know if you get on the freeway right there.
Before
You go
it's called.
east.
Well, that's Bird or it's Bird. It's Bird. Right. It's Bird or Barack Obama. Barack
Yes,
Obama
it was Obama.
towards the SAP Center. And then
Yep.
so Barack Obama, they just changed years ago, is Bird, which runs along like towards downtown Willow Glen. So it's the same street essentially.
Yes. So that left to get on 680, I think, to go east.
Mm-hmm.
To
280
get
at that
home.
point, but yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. um, making a left turn like normal, right? Well, as I'm turning left, the water bottle tips, falls, I think, towards me, had away from it, whatever. But I forget that it's sealed.
It falls. Yeah.
So I kind of freak
Mhm.
out that it's going to fall, like also like into my feet, which I hate when I'm driving and
Right.
stuff is rumbling around your
Yeah.
feet area.
Underneath your gas pedal or underneath your
Yes, all
brake or
that
something
stuff.
like that. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm with you, dude.
So I kind
It's
of
scary. It
flinch.
happens to me all the time. As a commuter, it happens all the time.
So I'm flinching to like grab it. And if you, I don't know, to me, the area between where you turn and getting on the on ramp, there's like a
It's a little
sidewalk
tight.
and it's tight.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
as I'm grabbing whatever, looking down to my right, I'm not really paying attention, thinking that the car's turning the right way because I've got a nice wide on ramp to hit. And sure as shit, I look up right at the last minute and I run the car over both curbs. There's a double curb there. It's not a sidewalk. So you hit
Yep.
over this curb and it drops down, then you got another
Mm-hmm.
curb. And I hit both
Mm-hmm.
left side wheels and it was boom boom, like firework exploded in the car. And of course, right, you think I'll be fine. Nah, we're good. Just a big bump. And all of a sudden you could hear and feel, it's just like boop, 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 boop. That sound of doom. And I'm like, okay. So I'm getting on the freeway and I don't want to pull over like like right on the on ramp. So I gently wobble our way to the next exit's pretty close once you get on 280 there. And I pull off. There's actually a decent area to kind of pull off to the side, but it's dark and kind of scary in that area right there. And I look.
That's McLaughlin. That's McLaughlin,
Yeah.
dude. It's not a good area.
And sure enough,
That's where East San Jose becomes East San Jose, right? Right where you had to get off.
Well, luckily there's not many like apart, like anything around. People would have to come towards the freeway. It's not like I pulled over right behind someone's backyard or whatever. So sure enough, I look and it's both tires just obliterated. So luckily I had my boys with me and they're pissed because we're not going home. We're not going to make it. So I don't know who called.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking like, what was it, like 9? It's gotta be 9:30, 10 o'clock at this
Oh
point,
no,
too. It
it's
wasn't like
like
it was
11
like,
o'clock. We
early.
stayed to the end of that thing and having to walk from the arena.
Yeah.
And then get the car, all that stuff. So we've got one of the boys on the phone with Amy telling her what I'm calling tow trucks, and another one of them is on the phone with like a hotel because I'm like, we're not going anywhere. So we get the tow truck. It takes them like an hour. So now it's midnight, right? And the tow truck actually takes us to the hotel, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I just told, I'm like, hey, man. And then I told him where to take it. Luckily, my wife takes her car to America Tire, I believe is what it's called.
America
And
Tire Company, yeah.
So they had one that was pretty close. So the story is even better, right? So we're trying to find a hotel room. I can't remember the place, but it's downtown San Jose, and it's not cheap, and they don't have many rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So we get into this place, and it's late 30, and it's one bed,
Mm-hmm.
3 basically adults, and the AC doesn't work. And when you open the window, it's downtown San Jose. Now it's not super loud, but there's some hustle and bustle going on. But it's like 85 degrees in that room. You can't sleep because it's so hot. And then Owen lays down on the floor. He's like, I'm sleeping here. I'm like, cool. That opened up a little bit more room, but he stays down there for about 5 minutes and realizes he can't sleep on the floor. So now we're sardining into this bed, and we don't have, like, we're not traveling, so we're not like, we don't have a change of clothes for the next day, right?
Right.
And setting the alarm, because I'm like, guys, we are gonna, when that America Tire place opens, we're standing at the door, because who knows how long the shit's gonna take to fix, right?
Mm.
So sure enough, we rally, can't brush our teeth, can't do anything, right? Because we're just dirty bums. And take an Uber to America's Tire. Shout out to Uber for being a thing instead of having to get a taxi, right? And then the story ends solid, because I had to work that night at the brewery. I remember, and I'm like, even though it's like a 4 o'clock shift, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. So we end up being like third in line, you know, and I'm worried that there's more damage than the tires blowing, because, man, I hit that thing and I
Mhm.
wasn't going that fast, but holy shit, it felt like a massive damage. Like, axle shit could have broke easily. So I'm like waiting for just awful news, and they just take it in and toot, 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 and like change the tires out, and they're like, good to go. And supposedly, I don't know how it worked, but my wife, like, somehow we didn't have to pay for anything. I don't know how it worked, why
Yeah.
that's the case.
Well, I can tell you, because yeah, America's Tire has this thing, because I used to buy all my tires from America's Tire back when now I have new vehicles, so I don't really buy tires often. But if you pay like the extra $25 per tire, what it does, it gives you, like, if you want to get
It's
if you
almost
get
like
a nail in your
insurance,
tire,
right?
they'll patch it for free, and then they have what they call is like a free replacement guarantee. So that way, if you do blow a tire, it's like insurance for your tires. And the reason why they do that is because they don't anticipate you're going to blow two of these things, right? Getting on the freeway. So it's like, it's an extra way for them to get a little bit of extra money out of you initially. And that way it's all covered through it's like their way of having a warranty for your tires. So that's
Yeah.
good.
So it end up getting those, and I remember like pulling out of there, just like, and I ended up, like, we probably, in a way, it was kind of better, like, staying the night instead of driving. Would have got home at like 1 or 2 in the morning. So even though the sleep
Mhm.
wasn't that great, you're up. But I was just like hesitant driving this thing home, because I'm still wondering if there's like some massive damage to the undercarriage of this thing,
Right.
the way I just
Hmm.
absolutely pounded the curb. It's unbelievable. That's a great story, because we talk about it every once in a while with my boys in the car, especially with that car. And that's funny, because also that car is about, I think, in a couple weeks, we're finally paying that car off. So we won't have a car payment on that deal. So yeah, but that was a friggin' nightmare. And it sucked all the way around. The sharks were terrible, and the whole ordeal after. But it's moments in life, right?
Yeah.
It's moments in life that you go
Yeah.
through, the adversity and how you handle it. I think we handled it like champs. Uh, but anyway, so hey, let's talk about.
I think
Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. No, I said I
Well,
think we'll catch up on this. I think the reason why you're bad luck is because of me. I've blown more tires than anyone I've ever met. When I tell people how many tires I've blown, like on roads and stuff like that, they think like I'm lying. So I think your bad juju came from me, because then we'll get to this at another time. The Reno story from last year, I think we've talked about this on the
oh
pod,
yeah,
where my
yeah.
dad blew up his car. So I'm gonna throw it out that it's my fault, that you guys did that, because it's my bad luck when it comes to cars and tires like that. Hence why I drive brand new cars now, because I don't want to deal with this kind of shit anymore. Like, I've had so much bad luck, and we'll get into that a different time.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little sports.
Well, let's go. We talked post 4th of July. So let's talk about 4th of July's, over the years, but tell me what you did last night, especially now that you have uh, a kid that's in that perfect age of like loving all the stuff and understanding it a little bit. So tell everybody what you did last night, how what it looks like down in Hollister besides the safe and sane. It's some of that stuff down there is insane. So let the listeners know what happened down there last night.
Yeah, we live on a court, which is kind of good for this kind of stuff. We had a bunch of my nephews and cousins and friends, so a lot of young kids. So we're able to semi block off. We have cones out there and all that stuff. We can semi block off our area. We had the whole jumpy with a dual water slide for the kids to play during the day because everybody, as you remember having kids, like they're so excited for the day, not only for just the day because you're barbecuing and doing all that good stuff, but they're waiting for it to be dark, and they'll start to bother you at like 5:30 p.m. and you know damn well it's not getting dark till 8:30. They're sensing that it's go time for the sparklers and the fireworks, and so my brother has I don't know where his connection is, but we had a extravagant fireworks show on our court. One of our neighbors 3 doors down. They must spend thousands of dollars because it was a straight Great America. Great America is a park where we used to watch all the fireworks when we were young. It was a straight 3 hour session. My head was on the ultimate swivel. I'm sitting at the edge of my driveway, and I'm looking left, then I'm looking right, then I'm looking up, and so finally I said, "Okay, I'm comfortable. I'm in my chair." I had to stand up because I'm tall and I could like actually see it. And then one of our really good friends has a drone, really cool. And so this drone obviously flies up in the air and it connects to your phone, like the controller. And so you could physically, this drone will like do everything. And it's got like this light and this fan on the bottom of it. And it overlooked the whole city of Hollister. So for like 2 hours, where I'm watching, not only am I watching live fireworks right in front of me, I'm watching this drone footage of it's really cool because the whole sky is like boom, boom, because every neighborhood's got illegal fireworks going off everywhere. And the thing is that the fine for is like $1,000, but the police can't police it. Not only do we live in a small town with 30 police officers, but there's just no way
It's
you can
everywhere.
control because they're going. It is straight craziness in a good way. And we were talking pre-pod. I am not the igniter of the fireworks. I don't even put a sparkler in my hand. Shout out JPP. I am the guy that just likes to watch, and I love to see the joy of on the kids' faces. And then the adults that are the ones that are actually lighting the real fireworks, I think they're more content than the kids are. I mean, they're like, you run out there and they call these things cakes. Do you know what a cake is? It's like
Yeah.
it's a box that shoots off like
Yep.
multiple. So you run out there and you light this thing, and then you see the adults like jet off, and all of a sudden it's like 7 seconds, and then it's like boom, 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 boom. So I'm looking in front of me, then I look to my right, boom, 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 boom. I got videos now. It was a great night. I had to work, so I wasn't engaged in the festivities till 7 p.m. But it doesn't get dark till 8:30. So I got home, and my brother-in-law cooked. He does this killer. I'm not sure. Do you guys have like L&L barbecue, like Hawaiian barbecue? That is right. So
Oh yeah.
he does like Hawaiian barbecue. So it has like the pasta salad and like the special kind of rice. He does spare ribs and chicken, but he does like his own take on it, like a homemade version of it, and it is absolutely breathtaking. It's so good, and I found myself like sneaking back and like grabbing another like piece of chicken. I'm like, okay, this is fun and all, but I need to stop. And we had tons of desserts, and there was like 25 people. We had a really, really good night, and the kids stayed up late and they enjoy it. And then we were in bed like 11 o'clock. By 11 o'clock, we're putting everything away, and I'm gassed. Like it's time for
Yeah.
me to go to bed. I've been up since 6 o'clock, and now it's 11, way past my bedtime. So it was a great night. The kids enjoy it, the adults enjoy it, And it's just a lot of us gathering, eating good food, and the kids playing, and it's a really fun night for us.
Well, I was watching painfully the Giants game. I sat through. I'm sitting at the computer here that we live stream, and it's a dual monitor deal. And I'm browsing the internet over here and watching the travesty of the Giants play last night. And what's funny is, I live up in the foothills where it's very tons of trees. Fire safety is unbelievably high. So when you talk about what you went through, if that's happening up here, it's way over the water somewhere, over a lake or something, because you just can't do that, or
Yeah,
we're
fires are
talking
going to start.
huge blaze that's hard to put out, and that kind of stuff. So I was listening towards the end of the game, and you could actually hear on the broadcast all the fireworks going off like in Sacramento. And it's funny that Kruk and Kipe didn't even like mention it. You could hear it just pop, 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 in between pitches, and because the game was so boring, you could actually hear what's going on outside the stadium. And then game's over. It's a little bit later, and I'm thinking I'm gonna go to bed, and Amy says, any fireworks? Because we had the windows open. It was a little cooler evening last night, and I'm listening, and normally you're hearing
Oh yeah,
pops all over the place, right? I waited like it's like 9:45, so fireworks are probably over, but like people still
yeah.
bang on them, a little bit later, kind of like New Year's or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I'm listening for like a good 20 seconds. I mean, a good I would think a long time. I didn't hear nothing. And I'm like, this is insane. I don't know if people are just that fire conscious up here, which is extremely smart to be. But I don't think I literally heard a live or saw a live firework last night. Maybe that's the first time it's ever happened in my life. But again, in reality up here, even the safe and sane ones, man, if those get loose, the tinder's so like dry that it's a big problem. I just think with Paradise burning up and the other fires that we've had recently over the last few years,
Yeah,
people are just so, which is again extremely smart, because it doesn't take much. And like I said, the weather's been cooler, which means it's a little bit breezier. So, but that was the 4th of July is just, it's kind of dead up here just because of that, which, you can go down to Roseville or down into Sac, and obviously it's a little bit more freer and opener and not as much trees and stuff to worry about. But yeah, I mean, I remember going back as a kid, just like you said, Great America, even not 4th of July, but if you're in like Disneyland, right? Disneyland has fireworks, I think, every night. And what's crazy now is I teach, as I've said on the pod before, I teach at Granite Bay High School. A lot of the schools in our district or area have, well, the schools not necessarily have the money, but there's a lot of parents and people that own a lot of stuff, businesses, and have a lot of money. But like our homecoming football games are a huge fireworks fest at halftime. So, I mean, it's ridiculous how much money people spend on these halftime events. And so seeing fireworks is always cool. The one thing I wanted to get, I didn't think of this, but I also don't know if our fireworks are actually happening in our town, but like getting my camera out and trying to shoot, you talk about a drone, but the shot behind me, that kind of long shutter speed in my background, those are the kind of shots I was trying to get, mess around with my camera and get stuff like that. Those are kind of cool. So missed out on that, but yeah, I definitely, like you, I used to light them, but not, I was always fearful, right? Because of not the human element, but the manufacturing of these damn fireworks. Who knows who put that shit into a box, and you light it and the fuse is like a centimeter long and you don't have enough time to get away from, even if it's a safe one, and that shit goes off. And I remember that happening, and it was like they weren't that bad, but like you're lighting and it starts spinning or doing some popping, like right when your hands like, you know, 5 inches away from it, and you're running out of there because you just, I mean, that shit's crazy. So um, definitely good memories as a kid. I think as a kid, we lived on a court. You're talking about living on a court. I grew up on a court, and same deal. Courts are nice on 4th of July because you don't have cars going by to worry about, and we had my dad or somebody on our street made like this big, like used a ladder. It's like a wooden ladder, and we'd nail these fireworks, the ones that spun. You would
Mm-hmm.
nail it to the ladder, and then you'd light it, and the thing would spin, and shit's flying off of it. But the thing wouldn't fly. The actual spinning piece wouldn't fly off the. It would just
The actual
spin,
ladder. You're right.
and it
Right.
was so you get creative with that, or you would light them off like on top of the ladder, so it was like, even though it was safe, it was like shooting a little bit higher than normal. So those kind of things, those are good memories. And but I'm with you. I'm more, I think maybe as we age, watching them is definitely more the way to go than lighting them off and scaring yourself. You like to have all your digits the rest of your life and your eyeballs and all that other stuff. So anyway, moving on. Speaking of, I don't know, we should probably go into the Giants since it's most current.
Yeah.
I've been watching them the last, my vacation, my summer, as a teacher, you get summers off, they say, right? But the way uh, high school sports is now, every single sport has to take from July 1st to July 15th off. You can't do anything. You can't do AAU. You can't do travel ball. You can't do wrestling. You can't, you're not supposed to, of course, um, do anything with your athletes. So when you talk about even like working out or whatever, like, so I have nothing from like July 1st to the 15th or whatever. So it's truly like my time to kind of do whatever I want for myself. And so, I get up, I lift, I get back on my walking, running kick, getting back from Kauai. I think I took one day off, and I haven't missed a day from either lifting or doing some kind of movement. But that gives me time to, like, okay, what am I going to do? So the days seem longer. And if the Giants are on, I'm like, I'll watch these guys. Now I get to really kind of see. And, I'd pick a few innings here or there when I was busy. But now I'm watching these guys, and like you talk about, we talk off the pod about how they end up probably going to be a 500 team. For how good I thought they'd end up being, man, they suck. And last night, you didn't watch, they made so many errors. They looked disenchanted. Um, and I'm watching, when I watch other teams, doesn't matter who, doesn't matter if I like the team or not, just their approach at the plate. Like, you just watch the A's, and Verlander's not been that good, but he's not really that bad. But the A's, curveball, take it to right center deep. The second inning, they had like 4 or 5 doubles in the inning. And they're at bats, they're just more patient, calm. And then when you watch the Giants, they just know they suck at the plate. So they can't, what's that rule? Usually in an at bat, you get one pitch that you should, have a chance to put the bat on the ball good. And I mean, they're missing everything. And it's so frustrating. And then I feel like that's starting to leak over to the defense and even the pitching
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, because
Mm-hmm.
they just realized as a team they can't hit the ball, and consistently.
Yeah. You start. What happens is when you start to have these woes offensively. That's how this is all started. And we talked about how good their pitching staff was, and all their pitching stats were great through the first like 60 games. But by nature, if you don't think that the pitchers know that that these guys aren't hitting, you don't think that the defense is trying to make the extra play or trying to make a play, try to help out the offense. I feel like early in the year, we've talked about this, and I kind of sort of talked about it. You thought they were maybe were really good. I said, well, I think we're kind of overachieving, and now I would say we were underachieving because you got that false hope or sense of like, okay, we're gonna have a chance to contend for this thing. And now it's like, when things start to spiral, it not only affects your offense, and we're missing a big piece in Matt Chapman. But if you add Matt Chapman to the mix, are we a better team? Of course we are. Is it going to change our fate long term? No. And now, if you really, really look at it, do you really honestly think that this team's going to finish over 500? We have a lot more of these 10-game spells where we just don't play good at any, like, when Logan Webb's on the mound, we're going to pitch well for the most part, right? But we're not consistent enough where we're scoring. When's the last time you saw us score, 7 runs in the first 5 innings and we're kind of coasting through the game and letting our pitching do what they do? It's always like, okay, we score 1 run in the third, it's a 1-0, 2-1 ball game. And as the game gets later and later and later, it gets more and more difficult to score these runs. So you got to score runs early in games. And what that does is it obviously helps your offense, but it helps your defense play better. And also the pitchers can kind of relax and go out there and attack the zone and know that if they make one bad pitch, right, that, you give up a 3-run homer or a 3-run double, and all of a sudden your 1 run is, it's canceled out, and now we're chasing runs, and we're not a team that late in games is going to chase a 4-1 deficit down. We need to play from ahead. That way those other pieces work out, and as of right now, we're just not doing any of that.
Well, in Arizona, the first 2 games were terrible. They looked like just everything was bad. And then the second 2 games, were hopeful. So you kind of see that imbalance that they're struggling with. But Hunter Pence, right? He's one of the road announcers, former Giant, former Philly. And anyway, he's talking about the Giants took the lead. I think it was like 2 or 3-0 or 3-1. And it's funny because he, on that third run that gave him like a 2-run lead, he's talking like literally saying that, there's an insurance run. An insurance run at 3-1. I mean, insurance is like when you got a 4-run lead and you get the 6, now it's 6-1. So a grand slam can't tie it up. Those to me are the insurance runs. And I get it. He's also kind of crediting that Giants pitchers are doing well to, keep the runs down. But basically, he's so thirsty for runs that he's counting like a 2-run lead as being insurance. I'm like, dude, when their own announcers are talking about, off the mic, they're probably talking about how bad their offense is.
Oh yeah, insurance runs are when you're up 3-1 in the 7th and you score 2 more runs. Now you're up 5-1 going into the 8th inning. That's insurance runs. It's not insurance runs are not like you hit a 2-out double and you score 1 run in the 4th, and now you got to hold on for dear life for the next 5 innings to this lead. That's not what insurance runs are. Insurance runs are late in games, like 7.
Yes,
it was early. I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's like, I guarantee you, they're talking off the mic saying, "What in the fuck is going on?" If we're talking about being up 3-1 in the 4th inning, that is nothing. That's a normal baseball game where you might score a run or 2 early, and then you got a chance to bounce back for 5 more innings. Insurance, that's what I'm saying. We need to get to the point. I'm not even sure if we're able to do this, where we get like 5 or 6 early runs in the first 3 to 4 innings, and then our pitching staff can do what they do best and hold on to that lead, because damn well we're probably not going to score more than that. We get like this big outburst of a 3-run inning. I was talking, we were texting back and forth on this. I think it was the third game when we score. Adames hits a homer in the first, and then we're talking. I'm like, well, that might be the only run they score. And I said it as a joke, but it's not really fucking joking. Like, and then we get 1 more run, but then we don't score again for like 5. They were saying something like, it was one of the games against Arizona. We didn't have a base runner for 5 innings. 5 innings. 15 outs. We didn't have a base runner. And so
Yeah.
that is our issue. That's our problem. And like I said, once you start to not hit, and we're past that point, it affects everyone. It affects the way Bob Melvin manages the game. It affects the way our pitchers pitch to hitters. It affects the way the defense plays, as you see now. I wasn't really noticing us playing poor defense early in the year.
No, it
Like
was
that kind of
bad
shit.
last night. Like
It,
bad.
it carries over. It carries over because everybody starts to press, knowing that we can't score runs, and so it's not going to go away. I would. You said something good that you think they're going to make some sort of move. If that's firing Pat Burrell, it could be that. But they're going to have to shake it up in some way because the guys that we're running out there, you got Bailey hitting under 200. You have Adames hitting like 210. We don't have the two guys that when I see us play that I'm like, okay, these guys can do some damage is Elliot Ramos, who's having a killer year. And then obviously Devers, you can just tell by the way the guy swings the bat. That's how I want to see like us take our approach. And when we're running out there guys that have got, hitting 210 with 2 home runs, well, not only do like we know, but the other teams that they're playing against that have all this information on these guys, they know more than we do. And so, and that's really, baseball is a very contagious kind of sport. And when stuff starts to spiral, I was really nervous that we've talked about this many, many times on the pod. Like we need to stay like 10 games over 500 because we are going to have these lapses in offense, because it's obvious now we have a big sample size, right? We're over halfway through the season. And so things have to change. So I wouldn't be surprised if, number one, we make a move at the deadline to try to, bulk up our offense. But don't be surprised if they fire a guy like Pat Burrell in the middle of the year, just to kind of shake stuff up, man. It's something that needs to happen because it's a continual thing over a long period of time, and it's starting to really show up. And I've said this many times before. The one thing that's glaring to me is there's 2 things that we're not doing. We're not beating the teams that we're supposed to beat. Number one, we play the home series against the Marlins, and they were kind of getting hot at the time, but we get swept at home. That can't happen against a team that's inferior. And then you go to Chicago, the second worst team in the major leagues, and you lose 2 out of 3. And then you get to go play your teams in your division, and that's the second part of it. If you don't beat the teams you're supposed to beat, like winning, we talk about winning series and stuff like that. If you don't win those series, and you're splitting or not winning series in your own division, this is what you're going to get, and you're going to get a 500 team or less. That's the mathematics of it. That's the way it works out.
Well, and we've talked about it before, but their lineup changes all the time because you could tell they're trying to.
Mm-hmm.
But when their lineup changes all the time, they're also defensively. I mean, it was disgusting. They officially had 3 errors last night, but I saw 3 or 4 like misplays that like major leaguers don't do. They just don't do. Whatever the reason, call it maybe not have played at the field at Rayleigh Field, whatever they call it now. Maybe that's something to it. But again, it was just like, I don't know, it's just bad. The biggest part of all this stuff is if they start feeling sorry for themselves a little bit because of their woes, it could just crumble fast. And if you're, the losing streak could just be massive, like a long
I always tell
stretch.
I always tell people when I was playing professionally in the minor leagues, if you see these we see these big league guys during spring training, the one glaring thing, and everybody thinks, oh, if you hit, you can get to the big leagues. It's not true at all. If you watch like big league hitters and minor league hitters, they're very similar. What separates is the defense. These guys play defense, I mean, perfectly. They don't make a lot of mistakes. And so when you see that start to happen, that's when you start to know there's an issue brewing. You know what I mean? And so that's what's like so glaring to me when you see, we're not hitting, but we really haven't hit all year long. But when you start to see the pitchers not pitch well, and you see the defense not playing defense well, it's a direct result of us not hitting. I can promise you that. That's the way baseball works. It's a super contagious sport. And when the wheels start to fall off, they fall off quickly. And that's where you get these you might get a 20 game thing where you go 5-15, right? And some of these teams that you're supposed to be beating, and all of a sudden we were in second place by a pretty by 4 or 5 games going to like 2 weeks ago. Now we're in third place, and the Padres have overtaken the second place, and they're playing well, and we're playing poorly. So just see, you start to see this move this way and this move this way, and it doesn't tend to go back up. Once you start the downhill climb to like third and fourth place, you're going to continue to see that until something changes. And as of right now, for a long, you might have a game where they look okay. They did the second 2 games of the Diamondback series, but it's just not there's not enough longevity within them playing well for it to continue. It just it won't happen because we don't score enough runs to do so.
And it just looks like they just look, their body language says it all. And we're not in the dugout or traveling or doing it with them, but you just know that it's wearing on them, and they can't get themselves out of it, which tells me they've been trying a lot of different things to get themselves out of it, but they just can't do it. So let's jump to the next thing. You want to talk a little bit Warriors? I'm not ultra paying attention to their free agency stuff. I saw some stuff with Kuminga. I'm not sure where that's going, if that's a thing, but what's your take on
well, I think what they would like to do is they call it sign and trade, where they're gonna sign Kuminga to a deal and then hopefully trade him to a team that can give us some pieces back. I think internally, when you read all this stuff, and I always tell people, if you read it and you read it multiple times, whether it's a report or not, there's got to be some truth to the report.
Oh, sure.
They were offering him like $25 million a year. He wants 30. And I think they said, I looked last night because they were talking about us. We just lost Kevon Looney this week. I'm not sure if you saw, longtime Warrior. He's got, you can say what you want about Kevon Looney, but the guy's a dog and plays off the bench and will do whatever you need to do to win. So losing him is a big deal, I think, as a backup center. We are supposedly going to sign Al Horford, who has been on the Celtics for a long time, had the championship run with them. I think he's a good piece for us to be a backup center, but the guy's 39 years old, so it's kind of like it'll be like a 1-year deal. And then it's like, do you go for the big splash and just totally disassemble your team for the short term and go get a guy and try to get a guy like Giannis? I don't know, because you're going to be giving up so many pieces and so many picks. And we have so many guys towards the end of their career, Draymond Green and Steph and Jimmy Butler, who are all 35 years and older. I like what you said earlier about, trying to get younger and trying to put the pieces together with a younger core with our veteran leadership. And that way you're not completely, this thing's not completely coming apart, where like in 2 or 3 years, like you said, I think like 3 weeks ago, we might make one more playoff run in the next 3 years. But after that, what does it look like then? Are we the worst team in the NBA? So I think we're going to make. I was really excited. They just were talking about getting Kristaps Porzingis, who was also with the Celtics, but he just signed with the Hawks. It's kind of like the idea when all the free agents were signing with when the NFL free agency opened up, and you see all these reports that the Warriors are supposed to be looking after this guy, and then the next day you see him sign with someone else. And I know that I know they have a plan in place. But I know for sure what they're trying to do is sign Kuminga to a fair deal for both sides. I think they'll trade him. There's some talk about him going multiple places. So, we're going to make some moves. I just hope it can be with veteran leadership and with younger pieces to give us a chance to make a run at one more time.
I saw earlier this week, I was paying attention to the NHL free agency opened like the day after NBA, but I don't follow. I'm a Sharks fan. I kind of know their players, but minor league stuff, I mean, I've never followed any of that stuff. I don't know what leagues are good, where these people come from or whatever. But I do, when the free agency hits, I kind of pay attention to some of the good players that I've liked that I watch on like other teams. And I thought, because the Sharks had the most cap room, like they had the most money to sign people in free agency. So I'm thinking kind of what you were saying. I'm thinking they're going to go get Sam Bennett, some of these guys that are like, Stanley Cup winners, da da da, splashy kind of names. And sure enough, they don't do that. And it's kind of like maybe what you're saying, maybe it's the smart play. You're getting the pieces that you need. You're not just getting the piece, right? And spending all that money on one or two guys, or
Right.
you still think you're in the Sharks case, they're probably still far enough away from really doing any damage that you don't, you're saving that up. And maybe because, we always talk about what, like, free agency now and who are we drafting now for all these, like the Niners and Warriors or whatever. These guys are projecting like 2 or 3 years out. They know who's
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 years out there. So it might be that, like, the free agents, not this year, but next year, are the guys that they're eyeing potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right.
so you can't just go, as a fan, you're going, oh, how come we didn't sign this guy? Or, man, I wish we had this guy on our team. It's like, sometimes that makes sense, but I think they're smart enough to understand where they are at the moment. And especially in the Warriors case too, you got to be smart. You can't just kind of do what, like, even like the LA Kings did and the Lakers have done, where you spend all this money on like a couple or one person, and then, at some point the wheels are going to fall off and you have no money and all your good players are retired and you're playing with all
Mm-hmm.
these guys that nobody knows. So now you're not good and nobody's coming to your game. Right. So you're
Right.
talking about it being a business. And look at the Sharks, right? They put all their eggs in a bunch of baskets, or all their eggs in one basket, and now all those players have retired or left. And the last 6 seasons they've been terrible, and they're not putting butts in the seats, and that's got to hurt the bottom line of the owners and all that stuff. So, you know, it's a money making deal, and if you're, it could easily lose money too if you're not good. I mean, I keep telling Amy, she's a massive Steph Curry fan just because he's good and he's a great guy. I'm like, okay, just get used to what you've seen, because in a few years when all that's gone, what are they going to look like? You get selfish, kind of like the Niners and Joe Montana. We were talking about it growing up in Candlestick. How many great games did I see? The Ronnie Lotts, the Dwight Clarks, pick your best players at the Niners. They're some of the better players in the NFL, and you got spoiled. And, and then when they had that rough patch when those guys disappear, and it's the lay of the land, and it's actually good for the sports, right? Try and not have one team dominate all the time. You want that, competition level across the comparable teams, whatever. You don't want one team winning all the time, but for the owners, they want to stay competitive as long as they can. So, yeah, I don't know what those guys are going to do, the Warriors, but, I think they're smart
Yeah.
enough having won championships that they don't, they're not going to make a dumb move.
Well, I think the Bay Area too is so spoiled, right? We talk about this all the time. We sort of have to be relevant. You got the Warriors with all their success, obviously the Niners with all their success they've had long term, what they've done in the NFL, and then obviously the Giants. So it's weird because then the fans start having some expectations, right? And so that's what happens. And the Sharks were very relevant for a very long time, so they don't necessarily want to just offload everyone because they want to get because it's so expensive to be in the Bay Area and to be able to go to these games and pay for tickets and all those things. So there's that pressure of being in the Bay Area and being relevant because of all the success we've had at multiple levels on multiple different sports. So that's kind of, I think, the part of it. So I don't think that the Warriors are going to like just totally
Right.
offload everyone for one guy. I don't think that's the play. I think that's why you're seeing what they're seeing. They're kind of evaluating the free agent market and seeing what they maybe could get for Kuminga if they sign and trade him. And I think they're going to try to keep the core together with some younger pieces and then moving forward. That way, when it is time for these guys to move on and retire and do these other things, that we're we're still have some sort of relevance, and that way we can, like, you've been to a Warriors game, the Chase Center games, they're ridiculously expensive, and they're full all the time because we do have Steph Curry and we do have Jimmy Butler and we do have Draymond Green, and we've been really successful. But they're smart enough to know that we need to continue that for us to be, moderately successful, where we're going to on a Tuesday night that all these people are going to come to this game and watch these people, because you probably only got like 2 or 3 years left with Steph Curry. So there's a lot to unpack when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Agreed. Moving on from the Warriors, tattoos. We haven't talked tattoos before. Do you have any? I don't even know what your tattoo situation.
I do not have tattoos, and there's a reason for it. The reason is knowing how my personality is. Once I get one, I will be covered in tattoos. There's that vantage point, and there's also if I put something on my body for the rest of my life, I want it to be like relevant. Number one, like it has to have some sort of meaning to me, and number two, I want it to look hella cool. Like I want it to be. We're getting ready to go to Mexico in 3 weeks, and you're out by the pool all day long, and this guy's got this badass like arm sleeve. Like I've always wanted like an arm sleeve so bad, but then I've realized, I've talked to my buddies that have tattoos, how much time and money goes into even getting it to that point. So then I'm like, as I start to unpack all these different variables, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I just stick with no tattoos then for now. I kind of hopefully I'd like to get the upper half sleeve. That would be like my goal if I was to do it. But like I said, I want it to be cool and relevant.
So I have 10 tattoos currently, and I'm like you because we're like each other a lot. Everything I have has a meaning. So when I get asked about my tattoos, I usually give vague answers. It's rare that I'll go into the deep detail of each one because they all have like a specific meaning, pretty personal, deep thought. Yeah. In fact, two of them, one of them I got on the day my mom passed away, like literally the day that day, and the same when my dad passed away. I went and got a tattoo in his honor as well on and so yeah, I could go through them all. I'm not going to do it on the show here, but it's like, that's kind of what I do. I think about them a lot. So I was going to get one in Hawaii, and I made an appointment with a guy over there. And it turns out that where I was staying on the North Shore, even though Kauai is tiny, his studio was on the South Shore, probably a good hour and 15 minutes away, which isn't a big deal. But when you're on vacation and you're driving an hour and 15 minutes there, and what I want is like an all day procedure, and driving back, your last day on the island on vacation is kind of taken by a tattoo that you could probably get on the mainland here. So Amy kind of nixed that, but I also kind of thought that's a good idea. Plus the guy I was talking to does good work, but his communication back to me was a little bit like, I asked him, it sounded like we were going to do it, and then like 5 days I texted him when I got to Hawaii, and because I hadn't heard from him, like, are we still doing this? He's like, I have you booked, but he never said like what time, never told me how much it was. And I'm like, okay, I'm if I have to pull that information out of you, like, it's better if you say, hey,
I'm
it's
out.
an 8-hour session and it costs this much, then I could decide what I'm going to do. I'm not just going to show up and have you say it's like $5,000 to do this tattoo or something. So anyway, there's a guy that takes photos for the football team at Granite Bay, and I had put the tattoo that I want on Instagram, trying to see what people thought of. This is like a couple months ago, and I said, if you like this a bunch, I'll get this. I was just trying to mess around, see if I had some people like it or whatever. And this guy messaged me saying, hey, I got this guy that could do that kind of work. And so turns out that I reached out to him earlier this week, and he got back to me, and the work he does is unreal, because this is like a lifelike tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me he's got a special he's running, and how much it costs and how long it would take. And it's like, I think I'm going to pull the trigger on it, but man, it's not cheap, and it's like an 8-hour session. So I'm trying to find
Is
it.
that like a one day thing, or do you break it up into two? How does that all go
I don't
down?
know. I need to ask him. I need to find it first of all. Let me see if I could like pull it up on the screen here. Image. I'm going to find it. Hang on. Here we go. It's going to pop up here. That thing right there.
That is badass.
Right? So the issue I have is what you're talking about. Where, and I told the guy, I said, where should I put this? He hasn't responded. That I think that's going to be more of a conversation when I see him face to face, because I don't want it to be like small and a little like on your calf or
Yeah, because
something.
because there's so much detail in there that you want to be able to see. If you're gonna get it, you want to be able
Yeah,
to see all the different things that are in it, because that's really cool, dude.
I want your like, I want your canvas to be big as an artist, right? So maybe that is my bicep because I'm huge,
Yes, yes.
and my tricep.
Yeah,
Just,
that's cool though,
you know,
dude. That is really
so
really neat.
I don't know. Again, I'm thinking like could be forearm, outer forearm, like out here, and
Yeah,
kind of wrapping underneath or up. I just don't know, but it's also a horizontal.
right. It's a horizontal
You know what
photo.
I'm
Yeah,
saying? So it's like,
right. It's this way. Yeah.
do you turn it and have it? I just don't know, and I want his opinion. And so, anyway, that's kind of the
That's
look.
the other thing too, is like if you get that sort of piece, right? You want well, you're getting it for a certain reason, and that's one thing. But you want people to
Yeah,
see it, right? That's the whole. I don't want a
yeah,
tattoo on my right ass cheek that only I get to see when I'm showering, right? I want to
right,
put it on my arm or my back. I mean, not my back, but like what you know what I'm saying? Like you want it to be, if you're going to spend wherever the amount is and the pain that it's going to take to get this beautiful tattoo, the idea is to show the damn thing off. That's what I say. Like, you know what I mean?
right,
Like I always see that. I see like tattoos as artwork, especially when people have really good tattoos, and you see that all the time. Like when we go on vacation, I'm like, man, that guy's sleeve is really cool. I wonder, A, how long it took to get that damn thing, and B, it's probably cost as much as like a Toyota Corolla. You know what I mean? Like that
right,
thing's badass. And so a lot of this is, people get tattoos at a younger age, and it's like over time you build it. And so that would be my issue.
right,
Is I don't know if I have enough time or the willingness to be able to be able to do something like that. But I've always had in the back of my mind, like I'm not against them. I just don't
right.
have any, and because of the reasons I explained. But that's a really really cool piece, dude.
Well, and I just he said it would take all day, which is like an 8-hour session, and
Hmm.
the cost is, to me, it's reasonable. Do you want to know how much?
Yeah.
Should tell the
Well,
viewer.
can I guess?
Yeah,
I would. Okay. I'm gonna say this is gonna be fucked up, and I'm way off. I'm gonna say it's $1,850.
it's not terribly off. So the dude's running a
Okay.
special. He told me he's $1,500, but he's got like a summer special, and he knocks like 300 bucks off. So
Oh,
be
I think
twelve
that's
hundred
well worth
dollars.
it. I always
So
think of like, the way I do it is like, how much time is it taking? And then I'm like, how much does he charge per hour, basically? So I was like, 8 hours times $225. That's where I came up with my
right.
figure.
Well, and that's the thing. Like I don't know. I don't do summer tattoos usually because I'm getting in
Keep him out of the
water
sun.
and
Hmm.
keep them out of the sun. Um, so I'm gonna reach out to the guy. I'm debating because I might like I get in these things where like I'm like, should I wait? And then the next day I get it. And I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to reach out to him today, like after the pod here, and see what his schedule. I've got to put a down payment on it, and then I'm locked in. But the date, I'm not sure. So again, it could be. And the other thing is I get so busy during school with football and school that I don't know if he's got like weekends, and I don't know if I want to spend a whole day on a weekend. So I might want to just knock this out.
Yeah.
Well, like I was telling you, I have this 2-week period of like nothing. So heck, pick a day. Let's
get
go.
it done. Then do it in the middle of the week on one of your 14
like a
days of
Wednesday.
your year that you get off, and like a Wednesday in the morning, and just knock that son of a bitch out, and then all of a sudden you got a badass tattoo.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm leaning, and it's a birthday gift to me because my birthday's next weekend. So anyway, that's besides the point. Actually, is it next weekend? Yeah, it's next. I don't know, Sunday or Monday, whatever. Anyway, you got anything else for the listeners out there today? Any additional stuff?
No, I'm just gonna be good. Like I said, I'm gonna watch the Giants game tonight. I'm kind of optimistic about tonight's Giants game just because of Logan Webb on the mound. I love watching Logan Webb work, man. Like just
He's pitching in his hometown
efficiency.
too.
Yeah. And then tomorrow, I'm actually really excited because I'm not a huge soccer guy, but I'm all in it. And then this isn't the World Cup or anything, but like because of all my friends that are Hispanic and because it's USA versus Mexico, like I'm seriously really looking forward to watching the game. Just because of these soccer fans, they're kind of they're a different breed. These soccer fans, they're like all about their country and not that you shouldn't be, especially when it's 4th of July weekend, but I'll be wearing red, white, and blue during that game. I ain't going to be wearing red, white, and green. I can promise you that. And so hopefully we can pull this thing out. So I'll have a little bit of bragging rights moving forward. But then I got so we got the game tomorrow, and then we were playing golf on Monday, and then next Sunday we're going to Lake Tahoe. My mom's taking us. I think I brought it up on the pod, and I'm playing Edgewood. A week from next Tuesday, 2 days after the tournament. So it's going to be. I have not played. I played Pebble and almost everywhere in California, but I have not, for some odd reason, ever played Edgewood. So we are my buddy, his wife, his daughter, and my mom and her husband and us. We're all driving up together and We're staying at Heavenly Village, which is right, where the gondolas are. Right when you get on the gondola, behind. Right before you get to the casinos and hotels and stuff right there. So we got a 3-day stay, and then we're gonna hopefully get to the beach as long as the beach allows us to get there. With all the weird stuff that's been going on in Tahoe, I'm not sure if you've been following, but eat a bunch of good food, and we're gonna play Edgewood on Tuesday. The course is always in like pristine shape. It's a great golf course. I've talked to many of my buddies who played there, but to play it 2 days after the I don't know, Century or whatever they call it. I don't know what they call it now.
American Century.
It's gonna be American Century. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to playing that golf course. So we're playing a week from Tuesday. So we're playing golf this Monday to kind of get warmed up and ramped up for the following Tuesday. So I'm a big Tahoe guy this time of year. It's like I looked at the weather moving forward. It was like 82 degrees during the day and like 54 at night, which is like my total speed. Like you make it nice and cool so I can sleep, and make it beautiful during the day so we can go to the beach and do all the fun things you got to do during the day in Tahoe. So, and then obviously playing golf, I think we're teeing off at like 8:45, and I think it's supposed to be like in the 60s to start, and then it'll be like 75 degrees when we're done. So I'm really looking forward to this vacay. It's a little mini 3-day vacay, but it's going to be a really good one.
Sounds great. Listeners out there, make sure you subscribe to the Coach and Cruz podcast live stream on YouTube, and check us out on all our streaming platforms. And Cruz, have a good week. We'll talk soon, probably tonight when we're watching the game. And you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next weekend. Take care, everybody.
Yeah, see you guys.